And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL, don't panic. Right, it's nearly, 2.5 days now till game week 22. It's time to start finalising what I'm going to do. I think I've made decisions. Probably influenced a wee bit now by state of play in the Chelsea-Arsenal match. Currently on about 20 minutes left in that. I think Arsenal leading 2-1. If it stays like that, you certainly don't take anything for granted in football, we all know that, but it probably is increasing the likelihood of a double game week for Arsenal in game week 26, and indeed for Wolves. What we'd be looking at, Arsenal beat Brentford away, and Arsenal playing Wolves away, and Wolves will be playing Forest away, and Arsenal home. Talk more about that in a second. So what I'm going to do in this video, we'll just have a look at my standings, which are not great after that last humongous red arrow. We'll go through the numbers in a second, and then just talk about the team and a transfer that I will likely be making not too long after this game is over, once we know that there's a sort of clean bill of health, because there are price changes coming tonight, namely a drop in price for Cunha, and I suspect a price rise for Rice certainly before the deadline. Cunha's certainly going to be dropping, that much I'm reasonably certain of. Right, where to begin? Let's just have a quick by the numbers. You can see it just at the bottom of the screen there. That last one, game week 21, that was a bloody killer. So I'd had my 2 green arrows in 19 and 20, as you can see there, and pulled myself from 1,113,000. Well, it was actually before that. Game week 18 was from 19 was a green arrow, so it was about 1.2 million to 714. Everything heading in the right direction, but the usual 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That big nasty 45 pointer dropped me back to 926k. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't do too much damage, but as each game week ticks by, these averages do become harder to recover. So that just dropped my own averages. So exactly 1,200 points, dropped me from 57.75 to 57.14. So nearly half a point in half a point basically in average drop. And so I really want to try and at least get into the top 500k by about game week 25. That was where I was last year, and I had a nice solid 50k finish. So really want to try and get myself back in there within the next 2, 3, 4 game weeks, and at the very least. 500k didn't stretch too far out of reach from where I was, not too far off at 500k, 1,223 points, so 23 points off 500k, and the average for 500k also actually dropped a little bit as well, down to 58.23 from 58.4. And it was a drop across the board effectively, but not by a half, roughly by a quarter, I guess. 100k went down to 60.4 from 60.65, 1270 points. So that's 70 points. That's really want to try and be there by game week 30 and try and catch the wet sail from 30 to 38. There is work to be done. And I need to make some good, sensible decisions, which is what this next video is largely about. And 50k, that feels a long way off at the moment. 1286. But the average dropping down to 6123, and number one, just to sort of keep a track on it, 1447. The average just dropped down to 68.9, so about 0.3 of a drop on the number one average. I did a little video looking at the number one's team and some of the tactics and what they've been doing across since the start of the season. In my last video, I don't know if any of you saw it, hope it was useful, just for general pointers and the things that came through. That comes through every year. Whoever's sort of leading it, indeed the top 5, take in no hits, and also rolling those transfers, and then just making the tweaks ongoing, and no points dodging. I mean, if you actually look at the number one team in the world, you'd look at it and you'd go, really? There's no Rice. You see the players that are actually not in there, but yeah, they're just ticking along, taking no hits, doing the tweaks every few game weeks, catching players, and the best example of that would have been, I think, Collins, catching his wet sail on the good fixtures. And yeah, it's about timing. I'd say if I've been doing anything really badly wrong this year, my timing has been way out when to get on the player and when to get off the player. And that's something I absolutely have got to address in the coming game weeks. Anywho's, let's have a look and talk about what I've done for this game week. So you'll see it on the screen there already, of course. I haven't made the transfer yet. I have been going against my impatient nature, and I haven't made the transfer yet. I think I have lost dollars on that. I think Bryce may have had one price rise since the end of the last game week, and Cunha may have had one drop, and he's about to take another one. There's a drop coming definitely for Cunha tonight. That's fairly clear. But I have held off my itchy transfer finger. But I have pretty much decided that it will be Cunha coming in, and that it will be Cunha leaving and Declan Rice coming in. Wanted Rice, just absolutely, and I wasn't the only one that did it, transferring Rice out on that injury a few weeks back, and then obviously he was fine. Not the only one that made that mistake, but feels a bit stupid now. Feels a bit stupid having done it, especially given Arteta's penchant for not giving information, which I've spoken about long and often, and I fell for it again. Regardless of that, the team as it lines up, and I have to think about this going forward as well, obviously in terms of the fixtures, when is the right time to bring Bruno in? Yeah, when's the right time to bring Bruno in? Sorry, just making a little adjustment there. Yeah, when the right time to bring Bruno in is, and also a view to this double game week. Probably the big question I think around this double game week, and of course it's not happened yet. I mean, at the moment, no one really knows what's going to happen, but we'll be reasonably confident, depending on how this result stands up, that Arsenal will have a double game week in 26. And it's not a bad double game week. Let's just get it in front of me so I don't get that incorrect. Yeah, so Brentford away, Wolves away. I think it's not going to be too hard a one for us to cope with, because most of us will be on a double up on Arsenal, or indeed a triple up. I guess the question becomes, is it the right double up or triple up? And you know what, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. I think it's a pick your point for this particular double, if indeed it happens. I think it's pick your poison and hope you get it right. 2 away fixtures, my gut feel is that given the opposition, Brentford and Wolves away, my gut feel, and it's the way I'm going, but it's happily the direction I was already headed in, so I don't need to make any significant adjustments, is the attack double up. Away fixtures, Brentford, we know Brentford, decent attack, likely to get a goal or two, but also can be vulnerable at the back. And Arsenal, I'm looking through their results, you know, Arsenal do get goals away from home, nearly as many, not quite, but nearly as many as they do at home. And Wolves away speaks for itself, but Wolves are getting better. Wolves have most certainly improved in recent weeks, and that young lad Manning is looking pretty good. So for me, yeah, it's no question. Rice, going to stick with Saka. The fixtures are there. You could argue, would it be worth looking at a Trossard, or would it be worth looking at a Gyökeres? Gyökeres has got one this morning. Pick your poison. I'm sticking with Saka, and he'll usually hit his 6 or 7 pointers. And but hopefully within these games, and obviously within that double, he can bring in a couple of hauls as well. I mean, to my mind, Saka probably has the higher ceiling than the defensive double up. This could be proven entirely incorrect. That's my gut feel, so we're sticking with that. So Rice will almost 100% be, provided no injuries. There's no no alarm bells after this match, and he walks off the pitch fine. That transfer will happen today before the price rise. Before price rises and price drops kick in, as people start to get their transfer buttons. Now, do we bring in anyone from Wolves? It's a very, very good question. By 26, and the answer for me is probably not, other than those that I'm already thinking about anyways. I look back to 30 to 38 last year, where I actually played through with no chips and achieved some of my best rank rises, despite the doubles and all and the blanks and everything going on. And one of the reasons is that went so well is that I just didn't mess with my team, trying to force players in that you wouldn't necessarily want because there was a double or something like that, whereas everyone else was doing that because they had the chips and the things and they changed their team around, and I just chugged through, even if it meant with 8 or 9 players, rather than, oh yeah, I'll take out, these are not necessarily good examples, I'll take out Tarkowski because I can actually get someone from Bournemouth, you know, they've got the double game week, etc. Whereas, and I just, well, I can't, so I don't, so I just chugged through, and I achieved some of my best rank rises. Now, happily, I will have some chips this time round, but I went from, with no chips, from about 400 or 500k up to 50k in chip season, and I came out of those, a lot of those doubles and blanks, with very nice little rank rises. Will that happen again? I don't know, but it did teach me something. It's not to force players in just because they've got a double sometimes. So Mane may well come in, but I certainly won't be trying to force in another couple of Wolves players for that double, if indeed, of course, it does happen. But Mane may just come in by default because of his prize, because he's actually half decent, and Wolves are on the improve, and it will turn one of my dead spots on that bench it'll turn one of the dead spots on the bench into an actual playing player. We'll keep an eye on it. The other one, of course, who I really do like the look of is, I probably prefer, is Krupi Jr. If his minutes are now improved with Semenyo gone and he's getting a fair amount of starts. These are kind of stories for another day, to be honest with you, but it's just sort of giving you a little idea of my thinking around this. Probably more to the forefront of my immediate thinking, apart from obviously wanting to bring in Rice for this game week, a possible role or a Mane to strengthen the bench in 23, and I think I've still got enough then probably to go from Foden to Bruno in 24. Kind of likely where I'll go, but I'm certainly not setting, the way the season's going, not setting anything in concrete. But I just don't see the point in moving Foden out when it's, you know, Man United away, Wolves at home, and I think if United are looking a wee bit better, obviously it's Carrick in charge, see how they're shaping up, see what positions Bruno playing. I suspect he will be taking up a number 10 role, but who the hell knows, really. And I think that probably does make Bruno a little bit of a better asset. Not that he was a bad asset before, you know, playing further back. The team, though, as it looks, for Bruggen, fine. Bournemouth home. I would like to do a keeper upgrade. Now, that might be something that I look at, because we obviously have this Chelsea big fixture swing, which is sort of happening now, but really kicks in 24. And it makes me nervous that Chelsea fixture swing. You know, sometimes I feel we can trust Chelsea about as much as we trust Man United. So for me, it could be, because I would like to get a second playing keeper in there, and it does look like John is gone for Forest. So the question does become, do I just go with the Dubravka, or do I go for something that might bring in a few regular clean sheets, and would that be Sanchez? I think we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously they've got the new manager as well, and I certainly wouldn't be doing anything on that until, you know, for a couple of game weeks. As I say, first priority I think is Bruno, and to make sure I get him in 24, regardless of how United are playing, because Bruno will always pick up points, you know, between set pieces, penalties. Maybe not such the DEFCON king, but he wasn't really that big on the DEFCON. He was picking it up a few times, but you know, he's on all the set pieces, penalties, etc. Great for underlying bonus points. You know, if he picks up an assist, he's always likely to get a few bonus points as well, and he'll take along and bring in some big hauls, we hope. The other thing obviously I like about Bruno, this is not again top of mind, but once we hit 30, then the doubles and the blanks will start coming in thick and fast. 31, 34, possibly 36, I think. And having players, to be honest with you, like that are knocked out of all the cups, regular 90-minuters, and if they are the right player, someone else that's on my mind, maybe Tavernier. I think he's getting a bit of attention now with Semenyo gone, Clivert out on penalties. Again, conversation for another day, but these are sort of players now that come into my thinking that will be really good assets. The likes he would roughly be on one attacking. Tavernier would be on one attacking return in 3. He'll be more pivotal to the team now. Do Bournemouth don't really care about how many they concede. If they're still scoring goals, he's likely to be more heavily involved, and as I say, I think highly likely to be on penalties. So again, this is probably a transfer for 25, 26 or further down the line. Maybe if I need to free up some money to do some bench strengthening for potential bench boost somewhere down the line. Not top of mind, but just having to keep it in the back of my mind with various transfers that I do. Back to the team. Tarkowski, horrible fixture away to Villa, but I honestly do think, I trust that he will get some bonus points. And you never know with Everton, they just pick up clean sheets where you least expect them, and they've taken a few tankings this year, obviously, but they'll seem to pick up clean sheets when you don't expect them. And I just feel there's more chance of a clean sheet, as bad as Man United are, more chance of a clean sheet for Tarkowski away to Villa than there is for Nunes away to Man United. That could be proven obviously completely incorrect, and City tank a pretty poor United 3 or 4-0. We'll see. I may change my mind on that. I may swap them around, but I'm not a bit nervous having too many players involved in that United City fixture. First up game, and if it goes really badly, it's going to make for a very, very miserable game week. No one wants a miserable Desi, do they? So at the moment, that is the decision, and I don't mind having a few attacking players involved in that United City fixture, even if they're from both sides, because I think both defences are poor, and I think there will be goals in there. Alderweireld, yeah, is just fabulous. I've got a thought at some point, because there's the potential I might need to bring in a strong forward, to set up a bench boost somewhere down the line. I've got no problem maybe with bringing in Mukiele at some point, for and having a double up on that Sunderland defence, to be honest with you, and that could be potentially for a Nunes or something like that. Again, stories for another day, but just giving you an idea and my little future thinking, and any transfer I make sure I'm making the right ones that's building towards the run out of this season effectively. Ciao. I was on his greatest day at the office last week. He played in midweek. Obviously Newcastle lost to City. Wolves away. I suspect Wolves may well score, but I think he might. Hopefully, he's looking for a redemption arc after that bloody -1 from being my hero in game week 20. Gabriel, obviously. Forest away. Forest could be a bit toothless, so hopefully we can get the clean sheet there. That doesn't do me a huge amount of good because there are still quite a few teams with the double up on the Arsenal defence. So you kind of need to get that bit of bonus out of them as well, or certainly even if Arsenal concede, absolutely no major problem with that if he gets his attacking return and some bonus, because that's where it sort of has some impact. Just a clean sheet and a 6-pointer as an individual, unless my other defenders come in with clean sheets, probably does more harm than good in some ways, I think. Rice, yeah, he got his assist from corner. White for Arsenal got the goal, one of the goals this morning against Chelsea. You just is Gabriel an essential? I think he kind of has to be classed as it at the moment. The average of 9. Does he if Haaland continues to misfire? Haaland down there in his average of 5.6 across the last 5. Is Gabriel becoming an essential? Well, he isn't. Sorry, he is becoming an essential in my opinion. But yeah, his average is 8.6, isn't it? And does he sometimes become a potential captaincy choice against, dare I say it, for Haaland? You couldn't back against Haaland, could you? Wolves at home, but Gabriel, Man United at home in 23, do some serious damage to that defence. They can't defend a set piece. Um, that would be a hell of a differential, but one I might not be brave enough to take. Not yet, anyways. Further down the line, though, there may be a change from the perma captain Haaland. That is for sure. Yeah, and Rice again. Captain's got to be a captaincy option, isn't it? Especially when you come to games like 25 there, Sunderland at home, when City are away to Liverpool. But yeah, just Mr. Consistency, and another just a great player to have that is going to be on the pitch for most of the game and is going to start most games. There may be the occasional rotation, but I think he's as close to an essential as you can get. So you may agree or disagree, but so many pathways to points. So many pathways to points, and even just in this game this morning, he's got his assists, and if it was a Premier League game, I'm sure there's some bonus in there, and it'd be another 6 or 7 pointer. Palmer is a concern. Palmer is a concern, and this is where, if I do look, I don't think I'm going to go with a Chelsea treble up, but if I do it, I want to make sure I've got the right double up. And there's little noises. He's not playing. I don't think he's in the squad at all. I don't think he's in the squad at all. Now, hopefully, that is just they're managing his game time, and he rolls out at home to Brentford. But the soundings are is that he hasn't fully shaken off this groin injury, so they're managing his minutes. And the fact is, if I've played the game, as Mark Goldbridge would say, and I've had a few little groin strains, and they can take forever to shake off. And it's then sometimes after a year you wake up one morning and it's like gone. It's a weirdest fucking injury. It really, really is. I thought the long rest that he'd been given meant that he was coming back, that they were bringing him back and he was ready to roll. Doesn't seem to have been the case. So this would appear to be yet another Desi mistake, bringing him in early to get ahead of the curve. Again, with playing the game, as I'm sure a lot of us have. We're just waiting for him to get up to full match speed, and the way you play in your first game back to the way you play after getting 4, 5, 6 games under your belt will be completely different. But I don't feel like he's moving forward. Don't see in that progression as each game week goes by. So there is that temptation potentially in 23 if I'm not happy with him against Brentford. And I am looking for the Chelsea double up. Do I actually move Palmer out for an Enzo or a Neto? And then that frees up a huge amount of money, obviously, where I can actually, turn John or someone goalkeeping position into Sanchez. If I decide to go that path, I'm not. Chalobah's still on my mind a little bit, I have to admit. But then that obviously gives me a lot of money then to do a significant benching upgrade in the coming weeks. Again, just thoughts, nothing set in concrete, but I am worried about Palmer. Not as much as I'm worried about bloody Foden, though. 5 blanks in a row. The thing is, Man United away, Wolves at home, Tottenham away, not bad. He's not going to go away for a few game weeks. I think I've made the Foden bet. I kind of just have to lie in it. But is there a minute's risk there now? Semenyo's looking good. Is Semenyo going to start getting some starts, which I would not have expected? I would not have expected Semenyo to get the starts that he has already. But they've thrown him straight in, and because City's form has dipped, are they going to throw Semenyo straight into the Premier League team as well? How does that affect things? And minutes for the likes of Foden. Doku looks like he's firing at the moment. Rodri's back, pulling the strings in midfield, etc. Foden's minutes could be at risk. So again, got to monitor that. And this is going to be a very, very interesting game, week 22. Saka's going nowhere. It's just going to tick along for me. It's sort of 6 points per game week, and just hopefully somewhere in this little fixture run, Forest away, United home, Leeds away, Sunderland home, Tottenham away, we can pick up some good hauls. But he's going to start. I'd say he's mostly on penalties. I'd still say he will probably get the next one. Gyökeres minutes are going to be more at risk, I think, now with Havertz is back. So there's a decent chance that if there are penalties, but to be fair, he only had 2 penalties last year anyways, and he did fine. So I wouldn't. I don't read too much into this penalties thing. Obviously, you want to get them if you hate seeing the ball being handed to someone else. That's in Gyökeres. but I don't. It's not why I bought him. I bought him for that steady 6 or 7 pointer. He's just fallen off it a little bit now to 4.6, but I think the fixtures are there for him to pull that back and hopefully bring it above that 6 or 7 point average. Bruno G, yeah, lovely fixture, but he is a homeboy. He likes his home fixtures, but he has been on fire. You can say that some of these goals that he gets are not sort of repeatable, scoring directly from corners. But those corners are his are like a direct free kick. He's obviously scored from one. He's hit the post with one. He's obviously getting some cracks off a goal. I watched the game midweek. He got some really nice strikes on goal. You know, we'll need to hang on to him. You know, can't make loads of wholesale changes in the short term. But maybe, you know, do have to start thinking about who might come in for him, depending on Newcastle's form. And obviously they've got 1, 2, 3 away fixtures in the next 5. Not quite sure what it looks like beyond that. But the guy's in a little purple patch, so we'll just stick with him for now. But I do feel we may have seen the purple patch. We'll see. He's a hell of a player. Really like him. And Haaland's Haaland. 16,226. It's not spectacular. We want a bit more from him, don't we? The average down at 5.6. Can't really go against him on the captaincy. Man United away, Wolves at home. But around 24, depending on where I'm sitting, how I've progressed, and if I'm sort of getting closer to breaking the top 500k and hopefully starting to move towards that top 100k. And if I was to take what would be perceived as a punt, it would be to start backing against the Haaland captaincy. And if Rice is still throwing up like 9 points per game week average, yeah, just put a little perma captain on Rice would be, I suspect, the way I'd go. And try and pick up that regular 9 point captaincy number, and knowing that sometimes there's going to be plus 10s in there as well. That's kind of where it's at. Bench, as per usual, is light. Nunes, which I do think is going to start on my bench, just to lessen my exposure in that United match. Yeah, just to lessen my exposure in the United City match, where I do think there's going to be goals and defensive assets are not going to be worth much. It's probably going to end up 0-0. Of course it will. Of course it'll end up 0-0. But those two defences are awful. I think Bruno, we've obviously got Bruno back, and Mbumo, Ahmad, who worked really, really nicely down that right wing. Very nervous about taking Cunha out, honestly. I do have a feeling this one could bite me on the bum, but I need Rice in. And I'm a little concerned that Cunha's minutes may be a wee bit at risk as well. So I will 99% certain that Rice will be in. Yeah, the Obi and Barnes, who's somewhere between now and 26, 1 or 2 of them may well get a little upgrade, but we'll see how that progresses. And that's really more looking to a potential bench boost at some point further down the line. It's not in my immediate line of thinking for bench boosting, but I will want to think about it to put a little bit of depth in the bench, as I suspect I will be having a big chunk. I've got about 1.5 million in the bank when I move Rice in for Cunha, obviously and then Foden to Bruno is going to eat up a bit of that. But generally once that's what all comes out in the wash, the transfers over the next 3 or 4 games, I will have a fair chunk of money in the bank to start looking to do in some bench strengthening. And whether that is going to be a very, very simple Mane and Krupi Jr., entirely possible, with a keeper upgrade, entirely possible. Story for another day. That's it. That's the team. On the watch list, it's not a comprehensive watch list. It's just sort of, yeah, Bruno's obviously, once I've done the Rice move, Bruno's going to be the next priority. Sanchez, potential keeper upgrade in the next game week. Then maybe Enzo, maybe Chalobah, just to sort of get an idea. But as you can see there, Chalobah's numbers are not great. He's down on a 2.2 average for this. I don't trust Chelsea. I don't. 2.2 average, and they weren't all awful fixtures. There's a few tricky ones in there, reds and blues. Enzo, yeah, a 9 and 11 in the last 5, but then the other three, you know, ones. I like to see players just taking that regular 6 and 7 pointers as opposed to, yeah, there's a hole and you're going to get nothing for me for the next 4 or 5 game weeks except pain. Don't trust Chelsea. But look at those fixtures. That's probably going to be, once I've got this Rice move in, probably roll, I think, 23, Bruno in, and then it is a question in 24, do I bring in a Chelsea asset as well? I think I will roll 23 unless there's obviously anything comes up, and the team should look reasonably good going into 23, because obviously Nunes can come in from Wolves in 23, maybe come in for Chow, and that actually makes that look like a pretty good game week 23. No need to mess with that unless there's any injuries. Then in 24, the couple of transfers, which will be Bruno, and probably, and I say probably, a Chelsea asset. Or it could be moving Palmer out for a different Chelsea asset. Story for another day. Excuse me. That's it. Game week 22, 2 days away. Hopefully, I'm going to look at this phone here, and there's no injuries to Rice. I tell you, I'm going to, because that game will be over now. I almost feel like looking at it. How did it finish? Give me a second. Garnacho pulled one back. Yeah, saw that. No, 5-goal thriller. So it was a few goals. Chelsea 2, Arsenal 3. Garnacho got 2. Garnacho. Oh, that would be revisiting a dark past I've had with Garnacho. White, Gyökeres, and Zubimendi. Nothing there. Nothing coming up there. Rice brought off after 57 minutes with broken leg, so that makes me happy. I'll leave it at that, folks. That's the lock-in. Probably not going to be back before deadline, but we'll catch up. Keep our fingers crossed that we're all having great game week 22s. My prediction based on the spreadsheet, based on the numbers for this 11. So what we got there across the last 5, 73, 36, 64, 73, 39. Yeah, it really is the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, isn't it? Currently 59 points, excluding captaincy. I think I'd take that. I've got a good solid 59 with a captaincy return to hit that 70. Which I say that every week, don't I? I say that every week. Take care, have fun, play your own game, don't panic. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.